Oh, baby, what is up? We are finally back with another episode of I'm So Beastly. I used to go by Mr. Richard. Yes, that is my name, but instead I'm choosing to go by my actual legal name this time, Chase. So I'm going to go by Chase from now on. Chase Tootin. All right, so we have taken quite the hiatus from I'm So Beastly for multiple reasons. Uh, a lot of this I was trying to do, self growth, inward looking, educational knowledge, positivity, life, and we're still going to do all of those things. But in a sense, I just felt too narrowed in. All right. I felt like I had to be confined to certain restrictions, and that's just not who I am. And so then I kind of put this one on the back burner, and I actually started another podcast. I did 2 or 3 episodes, and that one's called Waves of Passion. Now, the thing about Waves of Passion, I was going to simply talk about, what I'm passionate about this week, each week. So every time something I'd be passionate about, I'd discuss it. And okay, solid. So I got about 2 of those in. And then I got back on Runescape because the itch never leaves. Just sometimes you choose not to scratch it. You know what I mean? So we got back into Runescape. But so the Waves of Passion was on the back burner, right? I mean, I'm just driving Uber, playing RuneScape, doing other things, of course. But those 2 things were taking up a lot of my time, still are. Because let's be real, the RuneScape itch never truly goes away. You never stop playing, you just take breaks. And it's the greatest game ever made. It's the most fun. I mean, it is outstanding, that game. And we'll discuss it. We'll get more into it. But yeah, so I started another podcast, Waves of Passion, and it felt right, but it didn't feel right. Something just felt off. And so I didn't do an episode for like 3 weeks. I'm thinking like, you know what? I've got all these ideas. And that one, Waves of Passion, was really supposed to combine all of the characters I've made, all of the projects I'm working on, all of my personas, all of my podcasts into one. Other than my trivia, I'm So Beastly Trivia, that one needs to stay separate, and it will. But so then I get to thinking, all right, I'm doing all of these things on separate accounts. I'm started this new Waves of Passion, started over, because I didn't want to taint what I had done in I'm So Beastly. I'm very proud of what I have done on I'm So Beastly. I believe in the episodes. I think that's great. I think it's great content. And so I didn't really want to taint that by combining it with other things. But when in reality, this is the perfect platform for me to combine with other things, right? The whole thing is about I'm So Beastly. It's literally in the name. So what makes me so beastly is all the things I'm passionate about, right? And obviously, every one of the podcasts, there's some out there that have niches. There's some out there that just talk about anything and everything. There's some that get vulgar. There's some that are more positive, and it makes sense. Like, everyone has their thing. And I was trying to separate all of my things, but I'm a dope, fresh dude. I'm a cool guy, right? I'm fresh. I'm swagged out. All right. Enough with the nonsense words. There'll be plenty more nonsense words. But I have always separated pieces of myself, and I talk about this on the first episode of Waves of Passion, is that I wanted to combine them all. I wanted to just be whole for once and go by my true name, right? And I've gone by different personas forever on different things for various reasons, but I'm finally putting it all together completely on I'm So Beastly, right? This just felt, I preach authenticity a lot, and I did talk about it on Waves of Passion. That was what I thought was the most authentic, right, piece of me. But in fact, this is the most authentic state of Chase Tootin, is I'm So Beastly, right? I have I'm So Beastly trivia. It played off of I'm So Beastly, this podcast. But the whole thing, I'm So Beastly, like, it doesn't make any sense for me to use a different podcast, a different brand, when this entire thing, I'm So Beastly, the concept of waves of passion, like literally is from I'm So Beastly. And now I don't need to taint what I've had, because it's just, that was, the beginning parts of this podcast. That was who I was. That was honestly the most fun I've ever had doing a podcast, other than the time when I played music super loud where I couldn't hear myself think and I just spoke random words. Maybe we'll have an episode like that. That was actually really fun, semi-dangerous to the eardrums and whatnot, but it was fun. So, eventually maybe we'll do one of those episodes and even have a guest on where they do the same thing. That gets super interesting. But anyway, so that's where we are now. So I mean, I had an insane urge to get back onto I'm So Beastly. And it's not like I have a crazy amount of followers. I think there's like 50 subscribers. Each video, however it got there, has like, I don't know, 10 to 20 views. So nothing insane whatsoever, right? Super low end. But it's a start. It's better than nothing, better than starting over, honestly, because now I have this content on the back burner, and they're awesome episodes. I suggest going and checking them out. Maybe one of them speaks to you. But from here on out, it's, it probably, some of them will still have the same vibe as what we had before. But moving forward, I mean, we're going to talk about anything and everything, and really hit the ground running into, the podcast scene where everyone else talks about anything and everything. And honestly, I don't know why it's taken me so long to, break free from those chains I had put on myself. Speaking of chains I've put on myself, currently I'm writing a book. And if you've never listened to my episodes, I bounce around based on what comes to the dome. Some things are planned, most things are not. So there will be a lot of bouncing around, which is very similar to the way I write in Stream of Consciousness, but putting chains on myself, not too unlike Harry Houdini, but in a very different manner. I have restricted myself to the book I'm currently writing, my third book, called A Year in the Sandbox. It is a Stream of Consciousness novel where I am not allowed to read what I've previously written in any other entries. I'm not allowed to plan what I'm going to write, and I'm not allowed to edit anything that I write, all the way through publication. Self-publication, of course, because let's be honest, no publishing house would be crazy enough to touch a book that's never been edited, planned, or even read by the author. So I also have a year to complete it. So I started it last October 15th. I have until this October 15th to complete it, where each entry must have a definitive start, a definitive stop, and the next entry must be cohesive to the previous entry. So basically, it has to be one cohesive story. However that happens, who knows, from start to finish. And after the book is completed, which I will finish it on October 15th, right? And part of this, I have not written. I bounce around. There's so many days I haven't written. I've written like 33,000 words. And there's a ton of days I don't write. And so part of me telling you about this is to motivate myself to write more, to get to, I want it to be roughly 50,000 words if I can. And I've gotten to a point in the book, and I do have a pretty strong memory. So I kind of know what I've written in the previous entries just based on, somehow I just remember what I've written. That doesn't mean that the next entry that I'm going to write is going to be content-wise anything similar, because I do know it bounces around a lot. But, we're putting it out there. We're going to finish it. It's going to be a fun read. Whether it's a good read or not, I don't know. I think it is, but I'm incredibly biased. But that's what I do. I tend to put restrictions on myself, and we're going to bring it back. Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of what I had done with every single podcast prior to this one, including this one prior to this episode. So it's really freeing. I can't tell you how excited I am to do this. I listened as I was rollerblading. Rollerblading's absolutely dope. You should try it. I bladed for about 25 minutes while I listened to my most recent episode, which also got me in the mood to do an episode today. And I was sweating like crazy, and I was gonna do this shirtless because I was authentically not feeling like putting a shirt on, but I'm sitting underneath a vent and it got kind of cold. So here we are. We're shirted up. But I was listening to the episode I did on, how teachers are the gatekeepers of the future, essentially. And honestly, the content was fabulous. Yes, biased, of course. Once again, I'm always biased towards myself. But the content was great. And so I was like, you know what? Let's cruise right into this next episode. Let's get it going. And also, the reason I allowed myself to get cold underneath this vent is because I was making the super fresh thumbnail that you see or will see eventually. It's pretty dope. I love it. I think it fits I'm So Beastly perfectly. It shows off some personality. It's got its own flair to it. It motivates me to maybe cut my hair like that in the near future. Maybe not. Honestly, it's kind of a terrible haircut, but hey, it is what it is. But it's the new thumbnail moving forward, and I think it's only fitting. So we are going to adjust that. That'll be the episode thumbnails, also the channel thumbnails moving forward. Speaking of channel thumbnails, we are sponsored today by I'm So Beastly Trivia. Live every Wednesday, 8/7 Central. If you're feeling knowledgeable about some random topics that nobody should know the answers to, pop on in and show your intelligence by answering some questions over the internet where you can easily look up the answer and nobody's going to know except for you. Honor system. I'm So Beastly Trivia. Come join us. You'll have a good time. And that, my friends, is how you plug yourself. Because why not? Why not? But, all right, so obviously, this episode we're going to talk about RuneScape. Oh, the joys of RuneScape. I absolutely love it. I've been playing it for over 20 years, on and off, different characters. And it is just, part of it's nostalgia, part of it is just, I don't even know, because it's a lot of repetitive action, but there's so many activities in the game. There's so many quests, so many skills, so many things to do, so difficult to actually beat the game, to do everything in the game. It's nearly impossible because new content is always coming out. The world is massive. And I'm genuinely obsessed with it. Now, I was playing as a character in Bronze Man mode. So if you don't know, that's a plugin on RuneLite where basically it's a hybrid of regular mode and Iron Man mode, where you can only buy items off of players if you've got them in the game yourself, right? So for instance, if you've uncovered, if you've uncovered a ring, now you can buy more rings. But if you haven't, then you don't have access to it until you either make it or get it from a monster drop. So, it's kind of like discovering new items for upgrades or for skilling, like resources. And also playing the game where you can just trade willy-nilly. So it's kind of a hybrid. So I was doing that for a bit. And then one of my friends plays hardcore Iron Man. Hardcore means if he dies, he loses that status. So he can't die. And so he was doing that, and he's like, you know what, just come on over, just do Iron Man, just hop on Iron Man. I was like, I love the fact of having to gain everything yourself. I love that restriction. And so I hopped on Iron Man. It makes the game honestly a lot more fun because everything you do is so much more rewarding, because it's so much more difficult. It takes, just a lot more time. You have to think about a lot more things. Because you can't just go buy something, you have to go make something. So instead of going to buy a certain pie, you have to go collect the resources to make it. Instead of being able to just buy a teleport tab somewhere, you have to actually run there, or have the level to teleport there, or have the enchanted jewelry to teleport there. Like for instance, an Amulet of Glory is like 25k GP, which is nothing. I mean, that's terribly easy to get. Or you have to get like 80 crafting and 68 magic, I think, to be able to make it and enchant it, to have it yourself. Um, and crafting an Iron Man is just an absolute chore. So I've been mining shooting stars, terribly slow GP. Check that, terribly slow XP. But it does give you Stardust, which can buy bags full of gems, which can then be cut for crafting XP, and then turned into jewelry for more crafting XP, and then enchanted for magic XP, and then alped for magic XP and money. So we're doing little bits, little pieces. I'm also along the way collecting dragon stones, which, if you don't know the game, will be turned into those amulets of glory or a ring of wealth, which is just a wonderful, wonderful ring to have. So we're currently going through that. I just actually started fishing. So we're fishing in Edgeville. We're catching some trout right now and then cooking them at the Eternal Fire in Barbarian Village. Obviously, each load we're going to drop the burnt ones, keep the cooked ones, so we're stacking food, gaining levels, and it's a really nice casual grind. So I'm busting out some AFK stuff because I'm going to go back to the agility grind, which is one of the most mind-numbing grinds in RuneScape. It's just running around in circles a bunch of times, but it's incredibly helpful. So once we get 60 fishing and cooking, we're going to hit we're going to go back to the rooftops, go back to the agility courses, run around in more circles, and bust out 70 agility. And it'll be a phenomenal help, So we're going to do that. But the game itself, it's so fascinating to get back into it. I cannot express how much I absolutely love RuneScape. I have played hours a day. A lot of it's AFK, like the shooting stars, it's 20, 30 minutes of AFK mining. You go find another one, boom, you're mining. So it's just passive XP, passive gem stacking. Basically, honestly, it's pretty awesome to be able to do other things and, no XP waste, of course. But another thing my friend, the Hardcore Iron Man, showed me was this guy, and he's new to me, but he's definitely not new to the community. So he's been making these videos for years now. He introduced me to this RuneScape account called Settled, and it's a YouTube account made by this guy who is arguably the greatest RuneScape player I've ever seen. Barring PK. He does things that I would never want to do. That's incredibly time consuming, and he just comes up with these insane styles of play. Right, the first thing I saw of him was, first off, there's a game mode called Ultimate Iron Man where you can't trade, but you also only have one inventory. There's no banking either, so you can only use 28 slots. Right. If you've ever played the game, you know how absolutely difficult that would be to do an entire game with only 28 slots, with no bank, right? You can't collect anything over a long period of time. You're consistently dropping things you've gained and maybe need earlier and then have to regather. Well, he's maxed his stats out on that type of account. Other people have too, but it's absolutely astounding. The things that they do is it's incredible. Like I'm blown away. So I've watched this whole Swampletics series, other than the last episode, because I know he succeeds. I know what he does. Right. So then he did this other series that I'm currently watching called Nightmare Mode, where if he takes any damage at all, even one damage, his account gets deleted. Which, if you've ever played the game, the fact that he's just walking places and not getting damage in certain areas with aggros is absolutely insane, right? His level of focus is not even comparable. It is truly unparalleled because he has a fire cape without damage. That's insane in itself to even get to the point of getting a fire cape. I've never gotten one in my life because I just don't have the time, the patience, or honestly care that much to get it. I'll find a cape somewhere else, right? Probably won't be as good, but I'll find something. I'll figure it out. But he does this without damage. It's unreal. Currently, he's doing Barrows runs, right? So anyway, this guy does insane stuff. He has a series that he's currently doing right now where he can only walk on islands or docks. Like what kind of, like what, dude? That's crazy. So he comes up with these wild game modes, and it's so fun to watch. Like I never understood, and maybe because the games just didn't speak to me, I never understood why people watched other people play video games online. And a lot of it, I think, comes down to those people can just do what you cannot do or what you would not do. And now I'm 32 years old, just watching RuneScape videos on end, hours on end. And so I finally understand it. Everyone has their niche, right? Some people watch Fortnite games. Some people watch Call of Duty Online, Valorant, Counter-Strike, whatever. And I'm over here watching RuneScape, and I get it. I mean, if you know the game, it makes it so much more interesting. So, all the nonsense I've said behind the backs of people watching video games online, my deepest apologies, because I absolutely understand now, and it's exhilarating when you understand what they're doing, how difficult it can be, or how impressive it is sometimes. So if you ever played RuneScape and you've never heard of this guy, go look up Settled on YouTube. It is the most incredible. He's the best RuneScape YouTuber I've ever seen. He's arguably the best RuneScape player I've ever seen. And I've watched a lot of RuneScape PK videos. I've never really watched content videos, but it's fun nonetheless. It's fun nonetheless. He's a great guy. But so partly that has gotten me back into RuneScape. And also it's just, I'm on summer. I got a lot of free time on my hands. And there's just something about the ting 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 of RuneScape, the moving pixels, the 2D bad animation, the grinds. There's something about it that just speaks to me and touches my soul. I don't know what it is, but my goal, I'm gonna max out this Iron Man. So one day I will have this. This is my last account. I'm gonna max this guy out, and hopefully, I've got a couple more weeks of summer. Hopefully by then, I've got like 80 agility. I think I'm just going to go for 99 agility because it's this pretty sweet cape. It's a blue cape. When you get another 99, it gets trimmed red. It's one of the more, it's not super rare, but it's one of the more rare capes because it's an awful skill, honestly, to train. It's terribly boring to train, but it's somehow I kind of enjoy it. But we're going to go stack some food, and then we're going to hop back on the agility grind for, quite some time, bounce back and forth between maybe agility, hunter, rune crafting, and mining. And we'll get our account up nicely. I know me talking about RuneScape right now is kind of ridiculous because I'm not even showing you content. I'm just talking about what I'm going to do. And then I'm talking about someone else who's playing the game. But it's one of those things. It's also, it's also the greatest chat room ever made. And I've said this in other episodes. It is the best chat room ever made. There are some wild chats going on there. You got public chat, you got DMs, PMs, whatever you want to call them. And it's also the greatest game ever played. The only thing that would make RuneScape better, quite literally, well, granted, there's a couple things because some of the skills are just completely OP'd and some are absolutely abysmal in XP rates per hour or difficulty or how much they cost or whatever. And obviously there's an economic balance to it to some extent, but never mind that. If they had just like console, if they had headset speaking back and forth, like instead of typing out chats, you're actually speaking. And I mean, that would be absolutely unreal. It'd be unreal if you could speak through a headset during RuneScape. Now, granted, if you're in a highly populated public area, it would just be people talking over each other and no one would be able to get a word out. But man, that would be so cool if you could at least do it to your party, to your clan, while you're doing a raid. Things like that. Oh gosh, that'd be so dope. Okay, all right, Jagex, put that one out there. Try to get at least clan speak together, whatever through the game instead of through some separate app, so you can talk to your boys while you're doing your thing. Right, like that would be so dope. Right, get it on, Jagex. Get it on. Eventually, I'm going to be sponsored by RuneScape on I'm So Beastly because I'm going to talk about it little bits every episode. Of course, why not? It's the greatest game ever made. And speaking of, I think it's about time I go back to playing some RuneScape before I go drive some Uber. So, look, it's been real. I'm So Beastly Trivia every Wednesday night live, 8/7 Central on my YouTube account, I'm So Beastly Trivia. And we're just going to be doing all these episodes live as well. I'm So Beastly podcast. They're all going to be live. They're going to be put up on, Spotify and whatever else podcast platform. I got a couple books. Winston Feathersby, I'll let you know how it goes, and Dream Journal by Mr. Richard, both on Amazon. My third book will be out in October or November, depending on how I want to do the cover art. And then, we're going to go from there. But I'm So Beastly is back. I'm So Beastly Trivia is back. And this is the time we shine. This is everything all in one place. I'm Chase Tootin, your host of I'm So Beastly. Till next time, ta-ta, kittens.